Hey there, beautiful people. How are you doing on this rather chilly September day, nearly at the end of September? And wow, what a September it has been. So early in September, I knew from a few different people that I follow who are aware of the energetics and who follow astrology and who are aware of planetary knowledge and wisdom of what's going on in the wide cosmos and universe that we live in, sharing some interesting things about change, the everything being right for change, and not to be surprised if big massive things came along and you had no choice but to shift. And wow. And I had such an amazing August with new clients coming in and new opportunities coming in, and feeling really good and seeing the results of the effort that I put in to share what I do and the wisdom that I have, and it was really stuck in with creating rest, surrender, trust. Where I'm loving doing that and getting ready to hold space for those who were signing up. And then the sign up slowed down, disappeared. Actually, nothing happened September, and I'm doing the process of that. I was doing a lot of visualization for what I was calling in for the people who were going to come and join me for that, because I know it's a really powerful process. I know it's life-changing because it's literally all of the tools and everything that I've used to change my whole life, so I can sit here in the situation that I'm going to share in a minute from a place of my nervous system is calm, I'm confident and content with where I am. I can keep bringing myself back to the reality of now and not be panicking or scared of the potentialities that are least likely to happen, or the fear-based realities that old versions of myself might have focused on. And so to get to the point, when I arrived home last Saturday from Seoul, which is where I am now, I arrived home having done some content creation. It was obviously Saturdays, EFT groups on a Saturday. I arrived home to a letter addressed to myself and my husband, which he'd not opened, which I opened, which was an eviction notice from our landlady, saying family circumstances have left her with no current address in the United Kingdom, because her intention had been to travel for a while, and family circumstances, life circumstances had come her way, and the only property she has left in the UK now is our property, and because of prices being what they are, which we'll come into in a minute, it was better suited for her to move into the house she already had, which is understandable. I actually have no bad feelings towards my landlady doing this. It actually feels like a big massive blessing. It feels like it's the universe giving us a little bit of a shove in the direction we've been after going for a while, which is changing location, and it's opened us up to discussing as a family possibilities around other ways that we might choose to live for a while. We're very, very open to van life. We live on the canal here. We don't actually currently live on the canal. We live right next to one of the big canals in the north of England, which is a very, very real possibility for living And I have a few friends who have or do live on the canal on boats. Some in a fixed mooring. There is a word for it. I should know this. You know, something I'm actually thinking about doing. It's like I should learn the lingo. But some have like stationary places where they live, and I know other people who've travelled like the length and breadth of the country on canals, visiting places, and I've learned a little bit about like the legalities of how long you can stay in places if you're doing that, trading from a boat if you're doing that, and because we live on the canal, like within a stone's throw of the canal, it's not a stretch for our realm of reality to think, living on the canal is an option. So some of the options it's had us really open up as a family to discuss the practicalities of van life, because some of us are like, yeah, cool, let's do that. I've not had a valid photo driving license for 11 years, I think, so I would have to go and get my photo card driving license renewed. I've not driven for about 9.5 years since I last drove. And it's been considering having a van or getting a van or looking at having my license so that we could rent a van has been on the table of maybes since 2020. We did talk about it in 2020. And it's high up there on the list, the things that we'd much rather do. I keep saying our highest preference is a new 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom house where we live, but actually our highest preference is off-grid living. Like if we could suddenly find some land where we could put a van and start to build, establish some off-grid space, whether or not there was a property on that land, that's actually number one. You know, so that's actually number one is creating off-grid living or moving into somewhere where there's some off-grid living of some sort. We're very particular in how we want how we'd like or prefer to be involved in community type off-grid spaces. We have 3 daughters. We don't particularly, there's a lot of off-grid places that are not suitable for young ones. I looked at a few previously, and they're not catering and facilitating for people for families, basically, for people with young ones, and obviously mine are that bit older now as well. I think we first started looking in like 2019, 2020 when our little list was only about 5, so that's much more in the realm of possibilities, because some of these places are more suited to older young ones and teens than little ones. So that's number one. Number 2 then is our dream house. If we were going to stay in a house, in a home here in the valley, the catch here is that I've only really just increased my income from totally relying on tax credits to being like, yeah, okay, we're not going to apply for universal credit. So for anyone who's not UK based, this is the UK social security extra support for low income families system that's here in the UK, and they've done away with this old system called tax credits, and they're bringing in this new system called universal credit, which requires a lot more. It requires a lot more answering to somebody else saying what you're doing is enough or not enough for you to receive extra financial assistance. And because that, I believe, opens a whole other can of worms about other people declaring whether or not your employment is viable. That's definitely something for another discussion, and it's also part of the whole, like, it feels very universal basic income, social credit scoring, not really where I want to see the future for humanity going. So I watched my income grow, watched it grow in a way that I truly believe part of it was my energetic shifting, my embodiment of a new level of trust in myself and my self-worth, and seeing myself in this place where I was worthy of and capable of holding space for people, having got through all the previously stories in my head around if I have too much to do for other people, in service of them, in support, in seeing people, in whatever it is that I do for my income, for my livelihood, I do too much of that, I'll be burnt out and I can't do anything else. And this was an old story. It's actually an old story that goes back to my teen years. It really goes back to when I left school and started started in direct sales, and was also spending 50 to 70 hours a month knocking on people's doors, exhausting myself that way as well. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. I was raised where I went off and believed that was the right action for me to take, was to go volunteering, knocking on people's doors, trying to convert them. I never converted anyone to the religion. Hand on heart, grateful for that, because I feel like that's another layer of something you've got to unravel if you've converted people to a religion that you then go, oh no, that's wrong. That's a whole layer of something else that you've got to unravel. And yeah, I never fortunately now had the experience of converting or helping anyone convert to the religion. So, but that's what I was doing, and that's the story goes back in my head. I was literally physically exhausted. That's the story in my head. I was literally physically exhausted from doing that, and then going out and doing direct sales, selling kitchen stuff with catalogues, brochures through people's doors, going and collecting them, collecting orders, going then and packing the order, like doing the order on, like, back in those days, on a big piece of paper, filling it in, and you know, this was pre-computers pretty much, and filling that in and then having the order delivered, and all in all, a lot of physical work again for not very much income. And that was the start of this story of I do too much and I burn myself out, all so that I can be the best, but also then still completely fail. So this is what I've unravelled and undone over the course of the last 12 to 18 months through my own inner processes, through taking on all of the things that I've learned over the last 6 or 7 years to deepen this ability to trust myself, to trust that I am held by the energy of spirit, creative force, life force energy. Excuse the motorbikes. and being able to hold that vision in the crazy of the world and the energetics that are happening, and that shift in myself, in my inner energetic being, allowed me to begin to see the world around me as if things were already as I was calling them in. That is having more clients come in, and it's no coincidence that I was doing this, and then clients were coming in. I've had more clients in the last 4-5 months than I'd had in the previous 18, and that's quite, I'm very impressed by that. It begins to hold out that vision that other people who are wealth mindset experts, money mindset coaches, law of attraction coaches, universal law teachers, all of the things that they say, I've begun to see occurring in my life. I have a slightly different take on it, because I do think that for me, I had to see the change before the physical change. I had to truly feel the inner change and see the evidence of the inner change in myself before the physical reality shifted. And I've said this, I'm not sure if I've said it in a video somewhere, but I said about a year ago that if I suddenly found myself with a increased income when I first started out, I would then think that it was the increased income that had brought about the inner change. And money mindset coaches, wealth teachers, or universal law teachers all the time say that the change comes from you first. But I think that, and I've seen it, where a lot of emphasis is still put on the external physical reality shift rather than the inner shift. And I think because I'm also coming at it from a place of letting go of elements of the control systems of the world, releasing a system of financial support that literally keeps people trapped and playing small. I know this, I've seen this over and over and over again. I see it in the world around me, where people are so hung up on their need to receive these financial supports from something outside of themselves, that they're playing small within themselves. And in years gone by, I've heard people from all walks of life, from all different types of cultures, and from different groups within these low-income families. I've seen the discussions going on around, well, I can't get this better employment because then I will lose my benefits. Or, oh no, we're now getting so much more money in our income, say promotion at work, or somebody else has got a job, or changes in financial circumstances, so that then there's over this threshold of income level, and then they're all blaming the government for losing income. And you do not get me wrong, I know, currently living on £1,000 a month, I know how hard it is to have that, be under that pressure. But I do believe what I've seen for myself is it kept me playing small, and it was like a crutch. It was like a lot of the tools that I have, that I use in holistic therapy. I constantly tell my clients, you don't need the crutches once you have healed the bone. You don't need to keep using all of the tools all of the time once healing is occurring. My place as a healer is not to make you dependent on a tool to help you. It's to empower you to know that your innate power and energy are the thing doing or creating the change in yourself, so that you can have better physical health, process your emotions well, have a connection to spirit and source, help yourself with your whole holistic well-being, clear your mind, stop the mental health impact of like the whole mental health pain that people often go through. Mental health and emotional health can end up being very intertwined, and the supporting people through that's like really benefit. Government support really should be a tool used to help people better themselves, and often maybe because government agencies are understaffed, or maybe because there's some bigger force at play that's trying to keep people in control. We can argue that one for a little bit if anyone wants to. But ultimately, what I have seen time and time again throughout my life is people playing small, people not truly shining their light out into the world because they don't want to be sanctioned financially, even though they have got skills and talents that could be helping them receive massive amounts of money. Or, you know, we could go into the whole debate on like the financial system and capitalism being all parcel of the corruption of the system, and there's an element of truth in that. But when you start to see how people support each other economically in a way that's coming from a heart space, that's coming from a service to support and help and guide and lead and nurture, truly nurture other people, you see the difference in what that looks like economically, whether or not we're using money to exchange with each other, or whether we're using some other means of token to exchange and support each other. And that's the whole idea of a benefit system for people who are maybe governing or managing a country, to be able to empower people to step into their soul purpose, their highest excitement, to do the things that really light them up and receive a living, high vibe, thriving, financial, stable income from that's what this whole system, benefit system in many countries, but the UK has like been touted as being like one of the best social security systems in the world for supporting people financially. And maybe it's not. Maybe it's actually one of the ones keeping people the most controlled financially, because when I see my friends in other countries who don't have the social security financial support that we do here in the UK, they are so much more confident in their skills and abilities. They are so much more able to put themselves out there. They're not as afraid of what will people think of me for putting this out there, because they're relying on their own energy and their own messaging and their own skills and abilities to create an income, to create a livelihood, to be employed, and not oh, I've got to hold back a little bit, because if I did suddenly went from like, you know, this couple of £1,000 a month to like £10,000 a month, I'd lose something. And it's a really, really flawed system. And for the last 5 years or so, when I've heard somebody say they have had like a reduction in their benefits, I've wanted to celebrate, because that's been my long-term goal for 5 years, has been to release this benefit system, to get out from under it, to let it go. And that's why when this opportunity arose for me to do that, with the whole change in the benefit system here, I played with the idea for a long time. I've like sat with it, I've asked for guidance, I've followed intuitive nudges, and we decided that we didn't need to apply for the new benefits, because income was growing and expanding. Didn't expect to then be threatened with homelessness because that was like, we've got, over the last few years, we decided, I know we'll settle in this house. It's not ideal. It's a little bit small for us as a family of 5, 2 felines. It's a little bit small and is ideal. But hey, let's settle here. Let's make changes. You know, we've done a lot to begin to make plans for staying there much more long term. So then for the universe to throw this at us, be like, yeah, okay, so that income's coming in now. We're just going to give you this, like, off you go. You've got to go find somewhere else to be now. And at a time where rental prices are insane, like the average rental price for a property the same size as the one we're in now is double what we pay for the one we're in now. Like, which is kind of crazy. It's really insane, and I'm a little bit, that's the challenge. The challenge isn't the moving house, it's not the being evicted, it's not the like threat of homelessness. That would all not matter if what I was looking for a month was an extra £200 to £300 a month to pay a higher level of rent for a 3-bedroom house. But we're not talking that, we're talking more than double what the rent is that we have been paying. When my income has only just got to the point where it covers essentials and necessities. There's no like extra, there's no extra resources yet coming in to support us with saving anything or planning for anything. Like, we literally, the last few months are like covering the basics, covering the rent, covering food, covering utilities, covering like the other extra things that need to be paid out, and covering like expenses for room rent, Zoom, website, all of those extra expenses that come from being a content creator, being an entrepreneur, being in creating a livelihood. So all of that, be like, yeah, actually, you kind of like, income needs to be triple what it has been really to have that. And I have friends who have pretty decent jobs, whose partners have pretty decent jobs, who are going, yeah, £1,200 a month is well out of my price range for paying rent. They've got mortgages, again, because my income has only just started to do this gradual increasing. We're not in a position to go to get any sort of financing to buy a property, which is crazy. It's crazy because it's like actually much more able to pay £400-500 a month for buying a property than £1,200 a month to rent a property. That's kind of crazy. It's almost like someone somewhere wants certain things to be the way they are. Almost. Bring out the conspiracy theory in me anytime you want, because I do like to you know, acknowledge that there's been some less than supportive forces at play, creating aspects within the world that we live in. So that's what's happening with me. That's been my last week. It's hard to believe it's 7 days since all that occurred, but that's that, and it's playing out. It's going to be very interesting. Obviously, all support greatly received, appreciatively received. If you want to book in for any of my sessions, then the link to book will be down below. Come and join me for a Surrender Trust, because I tell you what, it's going to be even more juicy after this little escapade. It's going to be even more juicy because the depths of surrender that I've had to go into to hold my nervous system in alignment have been incredible, and the level of trust I have to have in myself, my skills, my abilities, my inner guidance, my intuition have really having to be doubled down on, to trust that the whole world is not crumbling below me. So Rest and Trust is going to be like 10x in its power and its supportiveness because of this experience that I found myself in. So come and join me for that. So that link will be down below as well, and don't forget to do all those things that YouTube likes, like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you sometime again very soon with some EFT videos, which I have been waiting to produce. But the last week, I have also been at my dad's for our monthly visit to my dad since this kicked off, and I didn't make videos at the start of last week that I'd intended to make because I was too busy going and having to be a grown-up about contacting local authorities and stuff like that. So yeah, it's all part of the fun and games, and yeah, you have the ability to get through it, whatever it is that life, the universe, and anyone or anything throws at you. You have the ability to get through it. You deeply lean into surrendering and learn to trust yourself. You can get through anything, even the toughest, hardest, most challenging situations. And let's face it, most of us are not facing those. So getting through everyday life, even when it's shitty, even if it's the shittiest experience that you've ever experienced, you can get through it. You have the wisdom within yourself to do so, and that's what I teach. And I'll see you all again very soon.